Hey everyone, this is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row. Thanks so much for listening to the following broadcast, courtesy of Public House Media.
This is Ryan Pierce, host of Completely Serious here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Completely Serious, where we talk about sports and have fun with great guests. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Completely Serious. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello and welcome to Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. My name is Bryce Burge.
And I'm Ivan Sanchez Carrasco. Today we're going to be talking about the NWSL playoffs, preview the US and Mexico game, and we're going to discuss the League of Nations over in Europe.
Your Soccer Passport is sponsored by Squadcast. As podcasters that deal with analysts and guests from around the world, being able to record remotely is key. Current industry standards rely heavily on internet connection, but Squadcast changes that with a simple browser-based tool that requires no additional software to install. The audio is recorded locally as high-quality WAV files, then uploaded to the host's computer, allowing solid audio quality. To get started with your remote podcasting and recording experience, go to squadcast.fm for your 14-day free trial. All right, so we brought it up, the Nations League. We're focusing primarily in the European group, but there are some similar ones in CONCACAF and the CAF on the African continent. I guess the thing is that with the European leagues, they've got so many countries. They've broken it into 4 different tiers with relegation and promotion. And it's supposed to add extra weight to international friendlies during the international breaks from club seasons. Do you think that it is actually being taken seriously? Is this something that fans can watch and kind of get a good feel for the international teams?
I think it depends what tier you talk about. The top tier, I watched the Germany-France game, and it had a very friendly vibe to it. The intensity wasn't there. You can tell these guys are just getting into their rhythm, their club rhythm again. And I think it's going to be taken. It won't be taken seriously, but if they win, they'll be like, all right, well, we're in it. Let's keep going and see how far we can go. But I don't think these teams are going to be losing sleep, or coaches are going to be losing jobs if they get relegated to the second tier of this tournament.
And that's the thing about the relegation aspect that I think puts a more serious vibe on it, because you get relegated if you lose your group. But the top League A only has 12 teams, and you're only playing a round robin among yourselves. So if you go out there and lose on tiebreakers, then you could be theoretically relegated right off the bat, and that just seems like a mess. I don't know how you can justify that, because I've seen the pool play with 3 teams before for like hockey tournaments or soccer tournaments in the past, but there's never been a relegation that I've seen on a group of 3, and that's kind of the thing that makes me not want to take this seriously at the higher levels. On the other side of that, though, is the promotion aspect has got to be big for identifying small countries with good coaches. Because now if you've got, you look around and you see in Group C, for example, Albania, I thought, looked very strong in their first game against Israel. You look at some of the other countries like Bulgaria, who's already got 2 wins, or Serbia, which looked like they had a decent performance too in their groups. That could be a potential opportunity for somebody to get hired by an African or an Asian, Oceania-based team to try to move them up a little bit and identify coaches, which, again, how well you can do that based on promotion and players aspect is one thing, but I mean, the further down you get down the line and the lower the level is, whether it's A, B, C, or D, I think there's got to be more stress put on to the promotion aspect instead of the relegation aspect in this tournament.
Yeah, and I think it does help the teams in the lower leagues, like League C, the one you talked about with Albania, because it gives these countries more chances to play more important games, which usually they only have the World Cup qualifying or the Euro qualifying that plays important games, and then there's such a gap of talent between those nations and then the top tier nations that playing against teams more of their level will give them more of an opportunity to play more meaningful and important games and be in these situations. And that's how teams improve, and that's how countries improve, by playing meaningful games. So the lower leagues, it helps. I think the higher leagues, the teams probably don't care that much. And it kind of takes away the thrill of when you have big time matchups between France and Germany, because you kind of expect those type of matchups in a Euros, in a World Cup, not in this League of Nations, not in this made up tournament that's right now kind of seems nothing more than glorified friendlies.
Yeah, and that's what ultimately is something that is confusing, because if you look at other groups, and I'm pulling up the file right now of a Redditor who had described the African continent's qualifying matches for their nation tournament between Algeria and Gambia. And describing this, there was 40,000 people at the stadium that only hosts 25,000 people. Hundreds of Gambian fans climbed out of the stands and stood near the running track around the field, around the pitch. Algeria was actually considering to not play at all, but not playing in this qualifier would have brought sanctions against them by the CAF, which would have impacted their ability to get back to the World Cup. There was an entire hour and a half delay, followed by Gambian fans climbing onto floodlights. Some guy had interfered with the vice president of Gambia from getting to and from the arena, and all this stuff is going on while there are advertising billboards literally preventing players from getting on and off the pitch. That is insane. And you know, I know that is not Europe, where it's Germany versus France or France versus Netherlands or something like that. But this is truly ridiculous in terms of the way that people are paying attention to it. Or I remember watching the Faroe Islands against Malta. I watched that, and the Faroe Island fans were going absolutely nuts. They were so excited about everything, and you know, they won big over Malta as well. 3-1 was the final in that one. So, you know, some of these fans are going nuts about this kind of stuff, depending on where it is. And so I guess my question after all that is, what are the responsibilities of the teams to make sure that there's a consistent product being brought forward? Is just being France and just being Germany enough of a product to move forward with something like this? Or is it just something that the higher the talent, the less people are going to try?
I'm more towards the second part, that the higher the talent, the more they're not going to try as much. Mainly just because these guys are already playing so many games at such a high level that adding more quality or more important international games is just going to wear out these players. They're already playing for your Bayern Munichs, your Real Madrids, your Barcelonas, and you know, it takes a lot out of them. You see it sometimes in the World Cup. These guys show up tired, they leave tired, and then it takes them a bit to get back into the rhythm into their club seasons. To play more quote unquote important games in an international level, just going to wear out the players, I think, in the long run, because players are already playing a lot of games, especially when you look at their leagues. You had the Champions League, you had the League Cup games as well. It's just more and more games that these guys are playing that, you know, they're going to get worn out, and it's the quality will suffer from that too.
Bryce Burge here, along with Yvonne Sanchez Carrasco here on Your Soccer Passport. We're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so give us a shout out on there. I guess, one of the things that you brought up is club ball, and we see this in other parts of the world, but we don't necessarily see it in Europe. Do you think that there is going to be an increased revolt from potential club owners about the League of Nations and the Nations League play? Because you don't want to see anybody get hurt in what is essentially a meaningless game, but these guys that are on the national teams for, again, we'll keep with France and Germany, maybe also Italy would be a good example. Everybody's playing high level club ball for their own clubs. You don't necessarily get that with, Faroe Islands or Malta or Crete or something like that. So do you think that this will have a long-term implication on club ball?
I guess it depends how they adjust it after this. Like if they make adjustments to the next League of Nations and how they work it as well, because it's kind of a trial and error. They should see what worked well and what doesn't work well and make adjustments that way. But I think clubs have always hated their players leaving on international duty, just because there is added risk. They are their main source of money and employment so when their players leave, it just adds more of a chance of an injury, of being worn out, especially when if there's a lot of travel and stuff. And there is, the richer the club, the more they don't want to see their investment leave and have the potential to get hurt. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a disconnect between the clubs and the countries when it comes to this.
All right, so more games are upcoming in the League of Nations and the European side. All four levels, all groups pretty much have multiple games left to play. So we'll see how they line up, and once they get to at least through the group stage, we'll probably come back and focus on the knockout round. Until then, though, we have our own knockout round to pay attention to. The NWSL playoffs are set. And so when we come back, we'll focus on those and give our picks to win here on Your Soccer Passport.
If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? I'll keep you by my side with my superhuman kryptonite.
And welcome back to Your Soccer Passport. We are on social media and would like to hear from you. Don't be afraid to interact with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Look up Your Soccer Passport on any of those fun platforms and send us what you think. We want to know what you think about this stuff, so that way we know what to include. Right now, we're just trying to focus on the news at hand, and that, in this case, is the NWSL playoffs. Chicago able to snag the final spot. Portland able to jump Seattle for the second spot, and the North Carolina Courage looks real strong heading into the playoffs. Let's take on these games one at a time in chronological order. The first game is on Saturday between the number 2 seed of Portland and the 3 seed of Seattle. Game will be in Providence Park. Also to note that these two teams played against each other in their regular season finale. So Portland won that one 3-1. Yvonne, it's always tough to beat a team multiple times in a row, but Portland could do that. They're defending champs. What is Portland going to have to do to win again?
They're going to have to do a lot of what they did on Friday night against the Reign. When they attacked and they put the ball out wide, they were really able to stretch that back line of the Reign, and they were very aggressive, especially, and their pressure on defense was really good too. So it'll be interesting to see how the Reign make the adjustments from one game to the other. But the momentum that the Thorn have carrying into this game is going to be huge. They were able to snag that last spot, or they were able to snag home field, which is big. They know if they win this, Portland's hosting the final, so they could potentially also play the final at home. And I think they know that, and I think they're going to carry Tobin Heath and try to ride her all the way to the finals. But they looked really good on Friday in the way they were aggressive on defense with their pressing high and forcing the Reign into mistakes. And then on offense, they did a really good job of stretching Reign, putting the ball out wide, and really making it uncomfortable for the Reign when they had the ball. So I think with that with the momentum, and the fans are going to be really have a great presence for them at home as well. I think the ball's in their core, and they should be favored into the first semis.
I think so too. Seattle looked to they just weren't putting things together the way that they needed to, even though that they had a couple opportunities to score more than just that one goal, 4th minute by Fishlock. It was not a complete performance for Seattle, in my opinion. I think that they've got a lot that they can improve on before this next game. The problem is that they've been shown that they can do that. They've shown that they can counterattack with a lot of grace, and that they can actually get that ball moving a little bit more. And I thought that their breakout was poor. I thought that they were almost panicked and frustrated because of the defense by Portland. And that makes a really interesting aspect moving forward for this team, because if they can get that breakout going a little bit more, I think that they'll be able to control the ball with more discipline than what they did in this game, and not allow the goals by, I think either goal by Lindsey Horan could have been prevented by Seattle having better possession of the ball before that happened. So it's a possibility that Seattle can flip the script, especially this close, but I would have to pick Portland. I'm going to pick Portland to win 4-3 in this one. What is your prediction, Ivan?
Portland will win. I think Portland's going to win. I'm going to go 2-0 because I thought Portland did a really good job for the most part defensively, kind of suffocating the Reign. Their goal came off a mistake early on. So I think if Portland can kind of keep a clean game for the most part and lower and not make mistakes, I think they're going to be able to win this game and kind of keep going with the momentum.
Okay, second game. North Carolina Courage hosting the Chicago Red Stars. North Carolina with a very impressive 17-1-6. They won their last game of the season against the Houston Dash by a score of 5-0. Chicago Red Stars, they won against Sky Blue, but then promptly lost their season finale in Utah against the Royals, finishing just ahead of Utah in the standings, mostly because of the benefit of having that game in hand against the league's worst Sky Blue, who did, to note, very important, Sky Blue did win one game this year against the Orlando Pride on the last day of the season. So, I mean, Sky Blue avoided that, Detroit Lions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers designation of not winning a single game throughout the season. But back to this, the Red Stars have to go to North Carolina, and after what happened in Utah, I'm not sure that Chicago Red Stars are going to be able to really hold their own against the Courage.
No, the Courage are destroying this league. I mean, their last 10 games, they've had 5 shutouts. They've scored more than two goals in 6 of those games, and they're winning games 3-0, 2-0, 4-0, 3-0, 5-0. When they get going, they roll on teams, and they don't just stop after the first goal. They continue to attack, and they don't try to suffocate the game and kill it. They want to kill it with goals. They don't want to kill it with keeping the ball or kind of letting the game die out. They want to just keep pounding and pouring it on you, and they pour it. And that's what they did against the Dash. And I don't think Chicago has much of a chance in this game, honestly, either. I think they're going to keep – North Carolina's going to keep rolling into the finals.
I think so, too. I mean, Chicago's had – some opportunities of brilliance, but the real reason why they're in the playoff and not Utah is that Chicago got lucky with a number of draws where they should have lost that game, and they've held on just to get that 1 point, and that was a separation, I think, in the standings. I thought Utah was a better team from top to bottom, but just couldn't get lucky with the right amount of breaks. And so Chicago taking that 4 seed, you don't want to take anything away from them, but man, North Carolina, the Courage is just so good this year. It may be the best individual franchise performance of any team in the NWSL ever. And they've mopped the floor with the rest of the league. So it's a matter of, can North Carolina get out of there safely, and how much are they going to pay attention to the other game? Because the other game happens first. You don't have a situation where you're overlooking and overlooking Chicago, kind of have like a trap playoff game where kind of like the Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars in last year's NFL playoffs. But that's something that the Courage is going to have behind them, knowing whether they're going to have to travel to Portland to face off against a home team or against Seattle, because the championship game is not held at the site of the top 2 teams. It's held at a predetermined site, which in this case is Portland. So big possibilities there for both teams. As I'm trying to get the right screen up here. So the first, before we go and exit the segment, you're going to be at the Portland and Seattle semifinal, correct?
Yeah, I am.
And you'll have that opportunity to take some extra posts on Instagram stories, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of stuff, all from Yvonne at Providence Park for this semifinal game between Seattle and Portland. What should we expect from you in that coverage, and what is your connection to the game so far?
So I'm going to be sitting right behind the north goal where they call it the Army section sits. And for you guys who haven't watched a Timbers or a Thorns game, it's the most rambunctious group of the crowd, and it'll be fun. It'll a lot of red smoke, a lot of chanting, it's a really cool experience. So check out, follow the stories on Instagram and stuff, and you'll see what I'm talking about, because it's hard to put into words unless you've actually been it or seen it. So you'll see a very cool perspective of the match that way, in the heart of the most diehard section of the Thorns. And then if they win, I probably might go to the finals too. Really do the hard hitting journalism.
Yeah, it would be really important, I think, for a lot of people to see both sides of it. And I know I'm kind of lamenting. I know Yvonne had a head injury and missed a week. My recent injury is a broken foot due to an accident at work. So I was thinking about heading down to North Carolina maybe and covering that game, but that will not be the case due to not being able to drive with a broken right foot. So if you want, you can follow us on social media at Your Soccer Passport on Instagram, at Your Soccer Pass on Twitter. We'll also put some stuff on Facebook as well and coordinate with Public House Media to see if we can't get some of that stuff shared on there as well. That's been our segment on the NWSL semifinals. The first one is between Portland and Seattle on Saturday, September 15th at 3 Eastern. That will be on Lifetime for people that can't make it to the game. Second one is between the Courage and the Red Stars. That is on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern as well. But that game will be on ESPN2 instead. Up next is Your Soccer Headlines, or Worldwide Headlines, here on Your Soccer Passport, here on Public House Media. Time now for Worldwide Headlines here on Your Soccer Passport, a segment touching on some of the other big news from around the soccer world. Juan Carlos Osorio has found a new job taking over the reins of Paraguay's men's national team. The former skipper of the Mexican national squad was a fan favorite to take the same position with the U.S. men's national team, but never received an interview for it. Paraguay reached the quarterfinals in South Africa, but failed to reach the World Cup in either Brazil or Russia. The first fixture of an American-based La Liga matchup has been set. Barcelona will face off against Girona in Miami on January 27, 2019. The game is considered a home game for Girona, who said that they would provide up to 1,500 free flights for ticket holders. The matchup has been questioned, though, by many, as both teams are from the Catalonia region, which has recently pushed for independence from Spain. And finally, there are potential problems for the home of Sporting Kansas City. Their stadium, Children's Mercy Park, has canceled their hosting of the NCAA Division II Football National Championship game due to renovations set for after the MLS season. The championship game has been held in Kansas City since 2014 and was set to stay there through 2021, but now Children's Mercy Park would have to reapply to keep the championship there for the next 3 seasons. Today's worldwide headlines are brought to you by the Public House Media Store Envy online shop. The best way to promote your soccer passport and any other PHM shows is with t-shirts, mugs, and more available in the Store Envy shop. Visit publichousemedia.storeenvy.com to purchase your goods. That's STORENVY.com. Welcome back to your Soccer Passport. I'm Bryce Burge, Yvonne Sanchez Carrasco 2. Follow us on Twitter at Yvonne Sanchez C90 and at that Bryce Burge. The U.S. and Mexico face off tonight on broadcast day. That's Tuesday, September 11th in Nashville. Both are coming off losses in previous friendlies. Uruguay beat Mexico 4-1, and the U.S. lost to Brazil 2-0. Obviously, there's not a lot that we can learn in terms of play styles, given the fact that both teams have a temporary interim manager. What can we expect, though, in this game between the two sides, Yvonne?
I think I would hope, since, like you said, both are working with interim managers, to not overthinking and just let the young guys from both teams play, because both called up young, inexperienced players who haven't had a lot of national team experience. I would love it for both of them, both coaches, to just kind of let the players loose and let the young guys go out and really not overthink it and just really enjoy the moment and have the experience of playing an international friendly against your rivals and really allow them to just go after each other. I would want for Mexico to try playing Jonathan Gonzalez, the Mexican-American Santa Rosa born player from Monterrey, give him a chance in the midfield and play Diego Lanis, this 18-year-old for Club America, and just let them have the experience of playing international soccer. That's what these friendlies are for, is to let young people play. So I would like to see that. And for Mexico, when I watched them against Uruguay, just tying up the back line a little bit, their attack looked pretty good, and they were able to create space and create opportunities with Lozano and with Jimenez, but the back line just looked super shaky, and I think part of it is the combination that it wasn't an experienced team, and also because they were playing a lot of young guys, and they're playing a very experienced Uruguayan team who brought back a lot of the same players that were in the World Cup. So I would like to see that a little tighten up and probably a change in formation, more of a 4-3-3 than a 4-4-2 that they played.
Absolutely. And I know with Mexico, they struggled on their back line, but, defending your first third is almost as important as scoring in the third final third, which a lot of teams kind of forget that sometimes, especially when you got younger players. But as you touched on this may be the one rare opportunity for people to play against their big rival. They may not be called back up again, or in a case of the United States, Areola or Yedlin didn't really practice or play a lot in the Hex. So you got to take those opportunities when they come in situations like this to not only be a leader in terms of being there for the younger guys and walk them through a game a game scenario, but also working through a rivalry game and what that means. And some of those guys looked really good. I thought Miazga looked amazing against Brazil, but Robinson just got torched the entire time, and he got sent to the burn unit after the game. So whatever these guys need to do to realize that they're on the biggest stage possible potentially for their career, I think is going to have a big influence on how this game actually stacks up for fan enjoyment, despite the fact that there's nothing really here to play for besides the rivalry, which I think is always a unique situation and something that is actually pretty different when you get into a game like this, because if you're just playing for the rivalry and you haven't been in part of the rivalry before, you're relying a lot on the fans. You're relying a lot on coaching staffs and people that work with the national team and trainers and equipment guys to almost tell of their stories of being in Azteca or something like that, and of just how storied and important this rivalry is, because you know it in terms of the facts, but you don't feel it until you're out there on the pitch. And so it's going to be a big one for a lot of these guys to deal with importantly. That being said, for the fans, even though this is a rivalry, do you have to check back your fandom in a rivalry that has nothing to play for it except for the wellness of the rivalry, or are you still going completely nuts and wanting to see, maybe not fist fights, but good hard tackles and scrambles for the ball?
I think you go for the second. You totally want to see them go after each other and go wanting to win this match. Because you notice this with U.S. and Mexico when they do play these friendlies, it can get scrappy quickly as well. And as a fan, that's what you want. Especially you want to see these young guys take the rivalry to heart and go after each other and try to go for the win. And I think, like you mentioned, these guys haven't experienced, a lot of these players haven't experienced a game against each other in the first top level before. And that's when you need some of the more experienced guys to come in and walk you through it and keep your emotion, how to handle these situations. Even though it is just a friendly, the fans are going to be the ones who are going to push it and really give it that extra energy with U.S. and Mexico.
U.S.-Mexico will kick off at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. That game's going to be in Nashville, so it'll be a good one to watch. It'll be on Fox Sports 1, I believe. Just trying to look that up and double-check that, and it didn't pop up. So that game will be tonight. We will update on social media as well. Remember to subscribe to Your Soccer Passport on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found. I'm Bryce Burge.
I'm Ivan Sanchez Carrasco. Go Mexico.
Go U.S. You've just listened to Your Soccer Passport on Public House Media.